first thing you need to make a pair of hoof shoes is a pair of shoes, and I get the heelless shoes. I found these on Amazon. They weren't too expensive. Slaya. They did not spell that right. These were pink, but I got them because they were the size I needed, and they weren't terribly expensive. I don't know if you can get them right on their website either. But you can find these kind of shoes on eBay, Amazon, whatever. Like I said, they were pink, and I wanted black. Ta-da! Rust-Oleum Ultra Cover Paint and Primer. This kind of spray paint bonds to plastic, which is really good for sticking to synthetic shoes. And one coat, and these puppies were covered. So this is the shape that you want to buy for a heelless shoe. You need a platform on it where your hoof will be built, and this heel-less part is going to create that illusion that you want. This had like a panel on the back that was all studded, and I cut it off. So underneath it is just plastic, which is fine. And I ripped the studs off the back too. If you have a zipper in your pair, either very lightly go over it with the spray or mask it off, because if you paint the zipper, it's not going to work anymore. So get yourself a pair of shoes, whatever color you want. You could be a pink hoofed creature, I guess, but I'm going to go with black. Okay, so the next step is you need to put in some anchors, which is something for the epoxy to hang on to. And I'm using these little tiny screws, like a little head on them, which is perfect. And I'm going to put 5 in each shoe. So I'm going to get yourself one of these handy dandy little drills. Yeah. And pre-drill some spots. So just do it straight in. And you're not going to screw anything up. It's just going into plastic, into the platform. This one is trying to defy my powers. Use these little twirly things out. So you want to do 5 of those all the way. I put 2 in the back, 1 in each back, 1 in each side, and 1 in the front. And then you're going to want to put your screws in. And when you do this, you want to leave a little bit sticking out. That's the whole purpose. It's making an anchor. Oops. Come here. So just screw these in and leave a little bit of the ledge. Get in there. See? See what's sticking out? Yes. Just like that. So put these in 2, 3, 4, 5 per shoe. Ta-da! These shoes are screwed. Hee. See what I did there? I do amaze myself. So, 5 in each shoe. Sticking out a little bit. Perfect. Alright, next step will be epoxy. Yay, epoxy. We love epoxy. Sorry. Hi, so it's time for epoxy. This stuff is amazing. It's from a company called Smooth On. Freeform air. You mix 2 parts together, equal parts, and you're going to have quite a bit of time to work with it. And within 24 hours, this stuff is super, super durable. And it's really light. It's not heavy and blocky, so it will be nice on your little happy hooves. Protect your workspace. I have newspaper. Definitely want some gloves on. I have a little dish of water over here. And then I just use an old crappy credit card or whatever to create the front of the hoof so I can get a nice cloven appearance. And on these little shoes, the way I make these is I try and see in my little head. I want it to come off the front down to make the hoof. We'll have a split in the middle. And then I kind of carry it down over the side to anchor it all onto the shoe. Yeah. You do want to pay attention on this bottom part to see how this shoe rolls, which means when you walk, you're going to go like this. So you don't want a huge lip of epoxy hanging down or it's going to hit it. So try and keep this smooth, going in the same direction as your toe. So your hoof will be more like this than this. See what I'm saying? Yeah. Keep that in mind. And do not worry if you slop it all over anywhere else, because this is going to all have fur coming down over the hoof. So it will get a little bit messy. It's okay. It's all right. Oh, hey, swirly twirly thing. You need to beat it. Okay. Okay. Next step. So I've used this stuff before for a bunch of projects. I'm going to take half of each of what is left for my first shoe. And then I'll use the other half of the other shoe. Now, just like liquid epoxy, so see how these are pretty close to the same amount? If you're doing a different project, a smaller project, this is a 1-to-1 ratio. So you want these about the same size. And as with the liquid version of epoxy, you have to mix this together completely for it to cure properly. I don't know if you've ever made like a liquid epoxy anything, and if you didn't stir it long enough, then the frickin' thing had like sticky spots at the end, and then you're screwed. Like, you can't go back and remix it. So conveniently, Smooth On made one gray and one white, and you are going to sit with this ball of goodness until it is consistent and there is no streaks of white or gray. It is really super important. So throw on your iPad or whatever and get to mixing. I'm just picking up all the little chunkies that are falling off. I tend to kind of twist it and pull it as I make it, and you will see it is in fact mixing. Smooth On also makes tints that you can add in at this point. So if you want your hooves a different color, I paint mine, but you can certainly tint them, and then it will be that color throughout your epoxy. So I will see you when I am done mixing. Okay. Okay, we are mixed. We are mixed. So, little shoe, come with me. It is your destiny. Here is my shoe. I am going to, can you see that? This is really hard with this angle. I'm going to try and flatten this out and make like little wings on the side, and I'm going to just drape it. You have time to play with this stuff, so don't freak out if it's not perfect right away. You do want to really press it into the shoe to try and avoid any giant air pockets that are existing that you can't see. And I do take it right back to the edge. And you're just smushing it on, and you just need to play with this until it's the shape that you want. Another thing I will mention is this stuff, once it dries, you will have zero give in these shoes. And I order them a half size big. I learned that the hard way with my fawn shoes that I usually wear 7.5, 8-ish. And I could barely get my feet in them. And they fit fine without anything on them. But they, it just, I don't know if this shrinks down at all when it's curing, but maybe just that there was no give at all, that my feet had no wiggle room. So these I went an 8.5, which would normally be ginormous for me. See all my crap getting all over them? It's okay. It's okay. Little OCD friends are going to be like, that is everywhere. It's okay. What did I say? Oh, yeah, 8.5. And you know what? They're big when I tried them on, obviously, because I don't wear an 8.5. But I know from experience they won't be when I'm done. And you can always put some heel pads or gel inserts, which will probably make your feet happy anyway. And snug them in at the end. Alright, so I'm getting like a basic shape. See how I'm doing this? Can't see because this thing. I usually smooth it along the bottom to make sure I'm staying with that line. Remember I told you the line to keep in mind? So see how it's curving up? And just snuggle it right up to the edge of the shoe, but you don't want it overlapping the bottom of the shoe. These things are slippery. So keep working it and see how it's starting to look kind of hoofy? Yes. Yes, it is. If it's not, you need to drink more. Maybe. So work this all the way around your shoe. Now, like I said, you're going to have all kinds of time to do this. Should not make you a half hour to create this. Slap it on. Be brave. And just smush it in. I mean, it's a hoof. It's not going to be perfect. Maybe it will be. And you can use water to help smooth this out once you get your shape you like. Just a little bit of water on your fingertips will make this really smooth. And you can sand this later. Once it's all cured, you can just grab a sanding block. And if you have lumps and stuff making you crazy, just sand it out. So I'm getting the shape that I like. I like this. This is nice. And I will make my little cloven part once I get the basic shape. So this is looking pretty hoofy. It's maybe not look hoofy to you, but it will be very hoofy when I'm done. And this is all my anchors are covered completely, which is good. And I'm just going to keep working on this until it's the shape that I want. And then, yeah, I'll keep it kind of an even thickness around the bottom. And then I take, oh, don't get any epoxy in your zipper. Same with the paint thing. It's not going to work later, and you're going to be really mad if you go through all this and you can't get the zipper open. So I'm definitely paying attention to this front piece. I cannot stress that enough to you, that it's a curve, that it's not coming out straight. Because from this angle it looks like it should be. It shouldn't be. Because you already know that there's a curve there. Now my dog is crying. Groot, knock it off. So I'm going to take this credit card, and I just kind of dipped it in my water bowl. It's not soaking, it's just damp. And I'm going to go right in the front of my shoe. And I'm going to make my hoof part. And I just put it in and kind of wiggle it side to side and smooth it off. And that will make my little cloven part. See? See how goofy it's looking? See, there's a little shoe exposed right there. It's okay. It's alright. Don't freak out. And like I said, you can use your fingers with a little water and start smoothing this in. Okay, so I have the epoxy on the shoe. And it's been a little while. Yeah, it's pretty warm. It's curing. I mean, it's pretty solid. I could still mess with it if I wanted to. But I'm not going. And I just smoothed it all out with water and my dingers. There's not a ton of it on the bottom. Up from the edge, and you can see that line curves right with the shoe. It doesn't stay straight across. So these bad boys are going to have to sit for a good 24 hours, and then I can come back and sand block them. Well, I have to do the other shoe first. But after they both set, I'll sand them down, and then they will be ready for paint and the fur. With the fur. Pretty good. All right. So the epoxy is cured on both of these little shoes. Well, you can see it. It's nice. They're done. I used just a sanding block. It's pretty coarse. You get the angled one. Fit in all the crannies. This stuff is totally sandable, and you can see some of the little kind of slurry leftover edges and you just sand it. And you can sand this down. You can use a Dremel sander or something else. It's pretty hard stuff, but you want to sand all these little edges off to make them smooth. Or you can leave them kind of rough to look more like hooves. When you do your epoxy, think about the character that you want. If you want just a horse hoof or a pony hoof, then don't put the cleft in and make them a little bit of a different shape. But these are good for Krampus or fauns or any of those lovely things. So I'm going to get these sanded down, and then they will be ready for paint. Yay! Time for paint. I'm going to be using just acrylic gloss black. Most of the hoof will be black, and then I put a couple little white streaks through them, because natural hooves usually have some little streak things in them. Well, mine will. So whatever colors you choose your colors now. And just a regular old little cheapo, crafty, this one's nylon, paintbrush. So first we will paint it black, and then I'll add the streaks. And make sure to leave, if you do have a crack or a cloven hoof, leave the inside totally black. Give it a little bit of dimension. So I'm going to paint this black first, and then I will show you how I do the streaks. Okay, all black. I did go up a little bit on to more of the top of the shoes. There will be fur over them, but I don't know. I just thought it looked more consistent. And I painted the bottoms because they had epoxy schmutz all over them, and it looked a little messy. So I do like to use the acrylic paint if I'm doing streaks. If you are doing just one color, you can just spray paint them. But since I'm doing streaks, I wanted to have it still wet to mix the streaks in. What I do is I just put a little white on the brush after, when the black is still wet. And I just do a little bit of globby stuff, and I'm going to go back in and blend these down. So I put just a little more. It's almost less is more when you blend it, to give you more of the streaky appearance. See how it looks streaky? I actually put a little more black on the brush when I do this, and then the white will kind of carry right through it. I don't put the streaks right in the crack. Like I said, I leave that, the cleft, the crack, call it what you will. I leave that all black. And you can just play with these paints until you get what you like. So I like how that looks versus just solid black. But if you want them solid black, you can leave them that way. So one more time, little bits of white through it. This is not rocket science here. This is kind of just an organized mess. And extra white off the brush. See? Super easy. And it just leaves a little more interest, I think, to the hooves than just leaving them flat. After this completely dries, I will coat them with just a clear gloss, just to give them a little extra protection, at least the paint. I have known people to cover them with poly, but I don't think that's necessary. I'm not going to be doing any mountain climbing in them, not that I know of. But I will probably throw just a coat of clear over the top of it once I'm and finish messing with this. And after I do that and they're totally dry, then it will be time to add the fur. So that's how I like my hooves. Super simple, a little bit of streaking here and there. You don't have to do this. You may have a different way you want to do it, but I think it looks pretty cool. Ta-da-da-da! They're looking very hoofy, which is good, because that's what I'm making. Okay.